So our condo is basically just behind those trees there. That was an interesting autofocus. And I'm going for my morning walk. Can't really see it, but directly like on that horizon like line over there, basically that's the row of bushes that separates our grassy knoll from the beach. So it's a pretty nice view walking out here in in the morning. And again, I I don't have my gimbal with me, but I did bring my I think it's called an Oppo F5 maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I really like this place. I'm trying to think. I think this is the 4th time. This maybe the 6th time that I've stayed here. I've stayed here, I think, twice without Gracie. Of course, we lived here for about 2 weeks, and then we lived across the street. You can't see it. It's behind us, but it's a giant 38-story building. Let me do this. I haven't mastered the whole hold it correctly, Mike, so you see yourself in here. So this is what this is my cha'am. This is Monday morning, and a lot like most places that are tourist related. Like, for example, I used to use the statement about San Diego, which is, you know, arguably quite a tourist city, and the complexion of San Diego and how the complexion changes significantly from the weekday versus the weekend. Yeah, I think for now I'm just gonna do it without, because this is just awesome. And a lot of shells today, which is kind of neat. Thailand, I've found, is not really known for their shells on their beaches, nor their surf, really, right? I don't know what it is. I mean, that's like cool looking and stuff, but there's something I want to use the word romantic. Technically romantic, let's call it that, about the Thai boats that are painted the yellow and orange and red colors and things. This guy obviously has a huge thumbs up for me because he's got solar up there, so that's completely rad. And I believe I've looked it up. I forget it right at this moment, but the significance of the lights, basically, that they shine down on the water, that I believe allows them to fish with better success. I've commented before, likely in my Why Thailand series, about why I like Thailand, but I don't know if I made one video just on the fact of the safety and sorts of things here. You know, like, I mean, I literally left my cell phone on a random piece of beach like this in Pattaya at like 4 in the morning, and some guy grabs my cell phone, runs after me, hey, you left your cell phone. And that happens in other parts of the world too, but I would submit to you that it's more common here in Thailand. Now, what I was going to say though is that the whole how do you lock up your boat? And everywhere I've ever been with my boat, or that I've been in a place that has boats, the way you lock up your boat is that you you basically just make sure that it doesn't float away. And I think that's one of the things that I've always loved about boat, is that in order to secure your boat, you you use a rope. Can you imagine if, like, when you went to the mall, park your car, someone's like, oh, you're gonna lock it? You're like, oh, hold on. You grab like 30 feet of line and you tie it onto like a tree nearby. I think I've mentioned before that, you know, I rent cars here, right, in Thailand. And when I do, I get the maximum amount of insurance. Because unlike in the US, you know, I mean, I don't have a car here, and I don't have a regular insurance policy, automotive insurance policy, and I'm in a foreign country, and I'm a foreigner. So those two things are, you would think those two things are identical, but no. Being a foreigner in Thailand, I think we all sort of agree that the ease with which you can get past an automobile accident favors the Thai. Fair enough. Anyway, so because of that, I get all of the insurance, and also the way that I buy insurance in general is that I don't like deductibles. I don't like to, that's the way I buy insurance. How you guys doing? You good? You happy? All right, good. Thanks again to the guys that watched and commented and gave input on the gratitude attack video from yesterday. It's always good to see. Always good to see Patty Doyle in my comments. He's dancing around up there in northern Thailand in his underpants. I love Patty. He's a good guy. Wild success on his channel too. Isn't he at almost like 50,000 subscribers? That's so great to see. So anyway, the thing is, I get the maximum amount of insurance, and it's only because it comes in packages. There's no way I would buy theft insurance on my car here in Thailand. And in fact, the woman's like, well, you know, it comes, she's selling it to me, right? And she's like, well, you know, it comes with theft protection. I'm like, right, it's Thailand, come on. Nowhere I go will there be anything but the absolute slightest chance of a snowball's chance in hell, as they say, of my car being stolen in Thailand. That won't. And again, there are places I could go to where that would probably be a lot more likely, but I gratefully do not have to, and I do not choose to go to those places. The places I go to in Thailand, from a safety perspective, I'm going to label them like this. At least 50% of the motorbikes I drive by in the areas where Gracie and I go regularly, at least 50% of the motorbikes are parked with the keys in them, keys left in them. And I don't think I've ever seen, you know, anyone care or, you know, consider the safety of their helmet on their motorbike. Whereas in Vietnam, I'm of the belief that you need to be a lot more conscious of the whereabouts of your helmet when you park your bike and that sort of thing over there. But well, I know the stability is not 100%, but I think it's a heck of a lot better on this phone than it is on my Google Pixel 2 XL, which I'll give you an example of how old my Google phone is. And quite frankly, it's not that old. It's like I guess it's coming up on 3 years. So that's kind of old for a phone. But how old is it, Mike? Well, it's so old that I can no longer, and I will no longer, receive updates on the OS. There are no longer updates provided for that phone via Google. Now, the phone is manufactured by LG, but it's definitely a Google phone. So if they're not even updating the OS, well then, that's cool. Not quite sure what she's trying to get there in the sand. I'll assume it's some type of animal she uses for either catching other animals or for food. I'll go with bait. This is a neat little. I'll tell you the neatest thing about this right here, about this sort of little natural pool and isthmus is that an isthmus? Yeah, I guess you'd call it that. That is sort of jutted out there, is that yesterday, absolutely, this was not here at this design, with this design. the rocks were here and the sand was here, and there were little sort of, you know, sandbars, if you will, but just based on one 24 hours later of tide. Oh, sorry, I forgot I'm hopping around here. Yeah, I like weekdays, man. I really like weekdays. It is, well, it's Only Child Beach, guys. My arm's getting lazy. I'm gonna stop with the picture-in-picture, I think. I didn't want to do a whole lot of just my face on this. It's a couple reasons. One, I feel fat. No, I am, actually. More than I'd like. But the other thing is that, well, you can see the jitter more when I do this. But also, I haven't shaved in, like, this is now day 3. And I hate that, actually. It's complete and sheer, utter laziness. It has nothing to do cosmetically and from a vanity perspective. I do not like facial hair. I don't like head hair either. And once I had my head shaved and I no longer had hair, the surface area of my shaving paradigm quadrupled. And so it takes me some time in the morning, but I've just been like, whatever. Gracie and I are on vacation. He said, describing every day since November 21st of 2019 when he arrived here. Boom. I'm gonna go with a little less shaky.com on this side. Plus I can basically hold the phone like a number of ways. Oh yeah, I can put my finger right there to get some real nice filtration. Isn't that great? I did some research on this, and I believe that my dad verified this. And he is an engineer. He's more of an engineer than I'm an engineer. He's more of a scientist than I'm a scientist. And he's definitely infinitely more of a mathematician than I am a mathematician. And I say those things to you because having the correct data and being precise is something that he appreciates and is a scenario he prefers to live in. And with all that said, he and I were discussing the tides over here in the Gulf. And where I grew up, and I think probably where many people grow up, there are 2 tides a day. And they are approximately 12 hours and 30 minutes apart. Again, this is very approximate. Obviously, the tides are based on the lunar cycle, which is 28 days. But in any case, the change in tides from high to high is about 12.5 hours, such that, if high tide is at 6 in the morning today, then tomorrow, high tide will be at 7 in the morning. So you would have a tide at 6 in the morning, and then you have another high tide approximately at 6:30 p.m. And then it goes and it slides about 1 hour every day for the rest of your life. And that was the way that I sort of planned my boating activities in New England in the summers. I would get a tide chart sometime around June, and I would find the days where it was easy to launch the boat, while at the same time being able to take advantage of high tides during the day, as well as low tides. Because like right now, high tide is like way up there. This is not completely low tide, but it's lower tide, which I like also because it selfishly allows me to walk on the beach in the harder packed sand, which doesn't have too much of an angle. So my hips are, I don't end up with hip dysplasia after walking on the beach. But, and all of these little things that I'm telling you have me of the belief that there is one high tide during the day in the Gulf of Thailand. And to the point where when I first got here, and I was like, getting to know the locals, as they say, they would be like, oh yeah, well, low tide will always be in the morning, and then high tide's always at night. And I'm like, talk to me in 2 weeks, was my thinking, right? I'm like, then it's going to be the inverse of that, right? Or talk to me in 6 days, quite frankly. Talk to me in a week. And your high tide will be midday instead of 6 a.m. Anyway, so my belief was that there was this cycle, right? Well, here, what I notice is it's actually sort of that. I mean, there's high tide in an entire part of the day. Like, day after day after day after day. High tide in the afternoon around here. Low tide in the mornings. And that's great for me. The other thing, too, is that, look, I love the heat and I love the humidity. And to be fair, yesterday I went for a very long walk from about noon till 3 p.m., because I couldn't find any other hotter hours of the day. And the tide was higher and getting higher, and it became higher as the evening went along. But the morning walks, I mean, there are probably a handful of scenarios and behaviors that I will label as the perfect morning. And some of those you would not relate to or find silly, or if Dana's watching this video, would probably make him vomit in his mouth a little bit, which is, I like drinking my 3-in-1 in the morning. But starting my day with a walk on the beach listening to this, and having to squint my eyes because that damn shiny red ball is so bright. We have a word in Mike's vocabulary that labels that. Perfect. What's the other word we use to label it, Joe? Free. Like, literally, this is the best free entertainment. I literally cannot think of anything better. And gratitude attack. Yep. You know what's neat about my gratitude attacks? I was flipping back through my gratitude attack videos, and I did one on what I referred to as Only Child Beach in Phuket. And I was walking along there, and I just had this ridiculous gratitude attack. I mean, it went on for 15 minutes. I recorded some of it, shared some of it with you guys. It was when I had my GoPro, and I actually went swimming. I actually went swimming in the water in Thailand. I know, shocker, right? Gracie asked me that yesterday. She goes, "Have you ever swam here?" I'm like, "No." She goes, "Have we ever swam here?" I'm like, "No." At least I used the pool yesterday. She sat there and looked at me and judged me and went live on Facebook. But she didn't go swimming. That pool is pretty nice, right? But to that point, a lot of times my gratitude attacks, I was thinking about it, were fueled by the fact that there was a comparison. Like, oh my God, here I am on this gorgeous beach that I'm not sharing with anybody, that is like my perfect morning, right? And then I would flash back on, oh my God, I used to be this horrible kind of person, or I used to ingest these substances, or I used to lie about what I did, whatever. And I no longer do that, and then I would sort of tear up with just extreme gratitude. And now, I guess this is the maturation of my gratitude attacks, and now I'm at the point where it just hits me. I'm just like, oh my God, I am so grateful right now. Not because I'm doing something pleasurable in comparison to something that was just so toxic. It's just because, no, dude, this is freaking spectacular. And yeah, one could argue that the only way you can label something as spectacular is if you've had something that's not been spectacular. But, for me, it's kind of like, yeah, walking on this beach right now and watching that guy with his little fish net and watching these silly people out there do their... So, if you wonder why the camera phone has become so popular, I would submit it's because, for some reason, Thais grow up believing that the minute they get to an area that is picturesque, it is time for a photo shoot. I'm actually kind of surprised that more Thais don't travel with like a light ring and a softbox. You want to see my favorite house in Sha'am? Not my favorite house to take care of, but my favorite house from a architectural beauty perspective. Oh wow, the sun behind me makes this thing look really awesome. And there's a couple of reasons for this too, is that it's down the end of Only Child Beach. So you got this thing going on in the morning. It's got rope swing Joe, and we know what that means. Rope swing equals awesomesauce.com with a twist of lemon. This has some Thai-ness to it. It has some Westernness to it. It almost has some cowboy attached to it. But this is absolutely my favorite house in all of Sha'am. I've never seen it open. I've never seen it in a state other than the way it is right now. But I've been here so many times, and meaning that like every time that I come and we come to Sha'am, I go for walks like this in the morning on the beach, and I come down and I walk past this house. Either it's on the beach over there and I'm doing that, or I'm actually like maybe walking down the street and we're walking on the concrete ledge there. And the street ends here too, so it's at the end of my own little cul-de-sac. I've never seen it open. Oh my goodness. The amount of like, what is on me right now? Oh man, it's ants. Stand by. Now there's one that you don't see every day. How you doing, Bobby? What are you doing? Hi. Hi, Cujo. Meaning you don't see an animal with an enormous amount of fur. How do you remain cool in a climate like this, dressed like that? Oh my God, you're so cool. I love golden I love golden retrievers. I love dogs that don't bark at me. I love dogs that aren't tiny and yappy. There's a reason they make microwaves the size that they do. It's to gauge how cool animals are. If your pet can fit in a microwave, then that will be its resting place, and it should be where it is put. Dog, cat, regardless. Cat's too small. This cat is kind of cool. I mean, I dig him, and arguably I probably would not put him in a microwave. However, I know. What are you doing? Oh, see, now you're coming over. Yeah, because of the ants, right? What does it mean when they like rub against you? Is that the cat equivalent of marking their territory? Are they that much more sophisticated than dogs? They're just like, no, dude, I'm not gonna pee on you. My God, what are you, a Neanderthal? I'm gonna rub my fur up against you. The PS is perfectly clean. Okay, so all of a sudden, like my litmus test for coolness of animal no longer is based on size with which one can fit in a microwave, because now I'm kind of like in love with this cat. Okay, fair enough. Anyway, but the thing is that the grass has to be cut here. If you did not cut this grass, it would not. Do I seriously have more ants on me right now? Oh, no, these are just flies. That's fine. Is it from you, dude? You didn't give me like fleas or something, did you? I hope not. It's not kept up regularly. I mean, if you didn't sweep this driveway for 6 months, it would be a lot filthier than it is right now. But that grass would absolutely grow if you didn't cut it. So it's being maintained to some degree. Oh, sorry, buddy. But I would really like to. I'd really like to figure out who owns it. And it's just very interesting to me. It looks nice, and it's cool, and it's fun, and I'm quite certain that if your bedroom is in that, which of course is where it would be there, that your morning wake up would be absolutely acceptable to me. So yeah, that's my favorite house. First thing I'd do, go to Home Pro, get some ant spray. Bam, done, finished, solution. Oh, Joe, what do we got going on here? Rope swing version 2.0. Hubba bubba. Let's double click on this view. What do we got going on here? I think I'm going to label that as acceptable. Yeah. Yeah. That is a full bucket of magoats on the scale of 1 to totes. This building is of interest to me. I wouldn't want to stay there, of course, but it's an abandoned hotel. It's an abandoned resort. And one could argue, yeah, Mike, well, welcome to 2021, dude. Yeah, I know. 2021 is the year of the abandoned resort, isn't it? I think the only people that made out during this abandoned resort period are the security guards. At least yesterday when I walked by in that little hut over there, there was a security guard there, making sure no one goes in there and messes with stuff. This is kind of a cool rock. Let's go out and do what, Joe? Exactly. Or it doesn't count. Oh, this is going to count. I will label this as a little win. Turns out it's not a rock. In fact, what I think it is I think it's the bag of that fisherman out there. So therefore, I am not going to mess with it. But I thought it was a rock, and I thought that therefore by touching it, I would get credit for this walk. I can tell you that further along this beach, there are multiple opportunities to get credit for the walk. If you're wondering where that comes from, guess who consulted me from the Jerry Seinfeld show on getting the credit for the pickup? You guessed it, nobody. Hua Hin, way off in the distance, if you're keeping track of this walk by GPS. That is basically, actually, so relative to Jerry Seinfeld show, I will label Hua Hin as Del Boca Vista version 2.0. Whole lot of white couples with a bunch of golf courses, and not my desired solution in Florida for my heat and humidity quotient. Oh, I like this one. And in 3, 2, boom, it counts. You like my Vans? I bought those Vans about 2 weeks ago, and for some reason I could never bring myself to buy them in the United States because they're like, how much are a pair of Vans in the U.S.? I was in my mind just popped $100. I don't know if they're that much, but they always just seem too expensive to me. And here I got these for cheaper, and you know, I mean, they came with the little red sticker, you know, that says like off the wall, Vans off the wall. And they have the Vans like rubberized logo on the back, and then they have Van printed inside. So anyway, I believe they're as close to genuine Vans as one can buy in Southeast Asia. But I don't know, I don't feel like they were a lot of money. I think maybe they were like 1,000 baht, maybe not even. But yeah, I got my first pair of Vans. And my first pair of checkered Vans, that's for sure. Hey, Mr. Hand, aren't we all here? Isn't it our time? Who knows what that's from? You guys know where Fast Times at Ridgemont High was, some of it was shot, and the high school was modeled after? That would be Claremont, California, which is basically saying San Diego, California. Claremont is simply a community of San Diego. Yeah, Claremont High School. Right up the street from the bay. And it's so funny, it is so close to the bay. I'm surprised they didn't have more scenes. Like literally, Claremont High School, you go out the parking lot, you take a left, and you go down, I believe it's Claremont Drive. Maybe not. Maybe it's, anyway. And you end up in Mission Bay, which is, you know, man-made, effectively, but it's also very gorgeous. There's this beach that Gracie and we went to for the first time, and I like going back. It's called Almanau Beach, and on it, the entire beach is filled with, you know, these dots, right, that are constructed by tons and tons of crabs throwing out balls of sand from the floor here, and the sea floor. And I thought there was a high density in Almanau, but here, I mean, they're not just like all over, they're like on top of each other. And it's on this whole like sort of little sandbar thingy, to the point where I feel like I'm walking in a shag carpet. It's kind of cool. Oh, I wonder if I can see it again. I will put in the photos that I snapped of my new monkey friend yesterday. And I lucked out because one of the shots I got was the monkey jumping from this tree to this tree. So he's like literally in the middle of it, arms out, legs out. And he's going from tree A to tree B. And I forgot to share it with you guys. I shared it with Rike, of course, because he and I have the absolute true belief that every single one of us should have a pet monkey. And just so we're clear, like Gracie believes in this as well. She believes that we should have a pet monkey. I believe that is abandoned resort as well back there. So, anyway, let me wish you guys the absolute most awesome of Mondays. Wherever you're watching this, I hope you're safe and happy. And I hope this little just sort of like walk and talk down the beach here was, I don't know, at least pleasant for you. It was pleasant for me, and I really appreciate those of you who hang out with me and enjoy this little slice of heaven, truly, which I refer to as Thailand. And specifically Cha Am, Thailand, in the beach here in Cha Am. So with that, it's Mike from LiveMyAssOff.com saying I hope you're living the dream, because if you're not living the dream, then there's a high likelihood that you just walked by some trees and didn't even notice a monkey in it yesterday. But trust me, those trees have monkeys. I was just walking as I normally do, right, or as I was before. And I remember that there's this ocean thing. And I thought, you know, I should probably take off my shoes and walk in the ocean. The sea, I suppose, is probably more accurate. The Gulf. This isn't truly an ocean, but I'll tell you what. I remember when I was a little kid, I was looking out over the ocean, and it was truly the ocean. It was the Atlantic where I was a kid when I was growing up. And I said, God, it's so big. My dad's like, yeah, and that's only the top half. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so I had another gratitude attack, and I wanted to share it because I wondered how many of you guys are in this scenario, and if so, what is it? And the scenario is this. I'm walking along here, and it just flashed into my head, and thus the gratitude attack. It just flashed in my head. I don't have to leave. Which is, if you think about it, is sort of an odd thing to think about, because, I mean, you know, okay, yeah, you've been here a month, Mike. You've been here 6 months, and then, you know, a year goes by and you celebrate. Oh, maybe that's the reason I'm coming up on actually being in Thailand fully, you know, living here. Not leaving. Not necessarily because I wanted to, but I couldn't really with any degree of ease. But until now, if you're watching this video in any degree of currency, then you realize that the Phuket sandbox thing has been, I guess, effective and decreasing in time of, decreasing in jail time. Which you're hardly in jail. Anyway, I was thinking about that. I was like, yeah, I don't have to leave. And as I was like sort of, I don't know, I guess I was just sort of looking at my feet by the shells and the water and that sort of thing, and for whatever reason, as I looked down, I thought to myself, I've walked a similar path, I guess, in the past. And in the past, it was like, oh, I wish this could last forever. I wish I could live in Thailand forever. I wish I could live at this beach forever. I've probably thought those same things when I've been at a beach in Maui. I'm a fan of Maui. I'm not a fan of the cost. It's distracting. It removes the enjoyment. So I had a gratitude attack, and then I thought, well, you know, I wonder how many of you guys are in a spot where you're like walking somewhere this morning, or you're this evening, or you watch this video, maybe you haven't even watched this video and your buddy told you, hey, I watched this video and there was this interesting, maybe it wasn't interesting, there was this discussion about a topic of being exactly where you want to be. Like, there's the discussion occasionally of like, okay, do I have everything I want? And then some people might say, well, no, I don't have everything I want, but I have everything I need. And I don't know when it happened. I think it happened actually before I moved to Thailand permanently. I transitioned from just having everything I needed to also having basically everything I wanted. And I don't know what, I honestly don't know what the steps were that I took to get to that transition, but I can tell you that I think one of the foundational pieces of that is gratitude. This is my hypothesis. Because it always seems like the more grateful I get, the more wonderful things happen in my life, the more better scenarios, the more wants I come to have with the foundational needs already being met. And I don't know if that's happening for you guys. I know that some of you guys that I absolutely respect and love are having a pretty damn good life, but you're not necessarily where you want to be. And I will tell you that from my experience, environment plays a role in happiness for me. If I am living somewhere cold and snowy, like, I mean, I used to ski a lot as a kid, and I loved skiing, and I obsessed about it. And for whatever reason back then, it was like, yeah, it's cold outside, but it never really registered. Whereas now, Gracie's like, oh, I really want to see snow, you know, because she's never seen it. She wants to see it once in her life, and I'm like, okay. And then I get online, and I'm like, all right, what's it going to cost me to ship her there so she can, not literally, but I'm like, I do not want to go, you know, and I suppose I'm tainting it with bias, and I'm like, so honey, like, after the first snowfall, like, the novelty's going to wear off real quick because it's going to be friggin' freezing. You know, but anyway. I am in a spot today, right now, this moment, and have been for a few moments prior to this, few days, few years prior to this, where I'm really comfortable where I'm at because I've spent the time, attention units, energy, money, potentially, to get to where I want. And I guess I'm reaping the rewards of that? I don't know. It doesn't seem like I got the reward and then it was over. It seems like it's like this perpetual motion machine of awesome. Okay, so I also know that there are guys in my life that I love and respect and care about that are in a spot where they really want to be. They have everything they need and they have everything they want. And if you haven't seen his channel, it's called Idea Studio. His name is Dana Bluin, and he's a really good friend of mine, basically my brother. And I'm pretty certain that he's got everything he needs, and if not everything, close to almost everything he wants. And he's only 40. So good for him. But anyway, that was just my little sort of gratitude attack as I walked along here. My arm's giving out. One of these days, I will actually bring the gimbal / selfie stick that I have paid for with your donations. That was really the only thing I ever used YouTube money for to buy, but it's a really neat item. So anyway, with that, it's Mike from LiveMyAssOff.com saying I hope you're living the dream, and I hope your arms are a lot shakier, less shaky than mine are, and maybe you just listened to this versus watching it, and therefore weren't completely disappointed with the caffeinated arm I got going on. I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao.